it's amazing to see the transition from not being able to look at the man in the mirror to at the end of treatment, they're looking in the man in the mirror and they're not cocky, they're confident.
Built by the rest, you can't tell me nothing. Built by adversity, led by courage. Everybody doubted me, now everybody proud of me. I swear to God, I'm gonna be everything I wanna be. Built by
What's going on, y'all? It's your favorite podcast, Built by the Red Stick. Your boy Ronnie LeDuff is back in the studio.
Feeling better than ever.
He skipped out on us last week. What a slacker. What a slacker. And
Oh, you got me in trouble with Mama, too. She's like, I thought you said you was at the podcast.
and your boy Michael Oakley. It's your favorite duo since Jordan and Kerr. We are pleased to be back. Listen, we've told y'all every time in the beginning, we just want to make sure it stays on the forefront of your mind. The Built by the Red Stick Hope and Hustle Fest, March of 2026.
It's coming.
It's coming faster than you know.
I did like me.
It's a free event filled with resources and all kinds of good stuff. We're going to have music performances. We're going to have comedy. We're going to have resources for mental health, substance abuse, all kinds of stuff. We're going to have stuff for the kids, little jump houses, face painting.
Nice.
You got me excited.
All kind of
Dude,
stuff.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Man.
So
Where is this happening at?
it's going to be
March 28, 2026 at Cooking with Central in Blackwater Road.
Nice.
Don't meet us there. Beat us there.
yes, indeed. But before look, we got the best hype man in the building. So before we get to him, we're going to take a quick word from our beautiful sponsors, Victory Recovery Center. Y'all hear what they got to say.
Addiction and mental health don't discriminate. They touch families, friends, and loved ones from every walk of life. For many, it feels like crisis. But it doesn't have to end there. At Victory Addiction Recovery Center, our mission is simple: to save lives and improve the lives we touch. For over 13 years, we've walked with more than 5,000 people on their journey to recovery, meeting them where they are and building a plan that fits their unique needs. Here, recovery is more than treatment. It's compassion, honesty, and perseverance lived out by a team that's both professionally trained and personally passionate. With programs that span medical detox, residential treatment, outpatient care, and specialized support for veterans and professionals, Victory provides the tools, structure, and community that empower lasting change. Victory is more than a center, it's a family. From alumni services to weekly family support groups to ongoing education in our community, the care doesn't stop when treatment ends. The connections built here ripple outward, healing individuals, families, and communities. No matter where you are on your journey, you don't have to face it alone. Victory Addiction Recovery Center is here, ready to help you take the first step toward healing and a healthier future. Because recovery is possible, and it starts with you.
And just like that, we're back. We are back at it now. I'm expecting a big show.
I don't know if I still can do it.
I'm expecting a big show. You were out last week. I'm expecting a big show for the
My brain
hype.
had a reset, though.
Well, you better reset it because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, without further ado, the best hype man to ever grace a microphone in the country, might I say the world, Mr. Ronnie LeDuff.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we got the OG from Cutoff in the building.
OG
The originator from the Cutoff.
from there.
He was there when they built the levees. When Bill wrote the big book, he turned the page. You know what I'm saying? We got a real big hitter from Victory Recovery Center in the Built by the Red Stick building. Y'all might call him Pete. We call him Peter. Mr. Peter is in the Built by the Red Stick building. Give him a round of applause.
Welcome.
Thank y'all.
Oh, we are glad to have you. Man, I missed that.
Me too.
Missed that.
Man, dude.
I'm not as good as it.
I was rooting you on.
We had our own. I had to interview last week. And I felt lost.
I'm gonna try not to get sick again, man.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even sick, but it's doggone migraines. Any doctors out there can help me with why I keep getting these bad headaches, why I can't see, contact me, please. Thank you. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Peter, first and foremost, man, I've been doing so good without saying that. I realize that I say first and foremost a lot, and so I've been doing real good without saying it. And I
Wait,
said
you
it.
can't say first and foremost?
I just overuse it.
First and
Anyway,
foremost, why?
anyway, won't you introduce yourself to our listeners? Tell us a little bit about yourself, personally, and where and what you do with Victory.
Peter Barrilleaux. I am originally from LaRose, right next door to Cutoff.
Get it right.
LaRose.
Bayou Lafouche, a little shout out to the people down on the bayou. So a
shout.
little bit about myself. I'm in recovery. I've been in recovery this time for 21 years plus. Praise God.
Look, his
Only by the
recovery is
grace
able
of
to
God.
drink.
I'm telling you, your recovery is old enough to drink.
Well, actually, I've been sober as long as I use drugs and alcohol. So that's like 21 years was the catalyst to kind of like cross that line into like late stages of recovery, I like to call it.
Yeah.
I was in treatment when I was young. I was forced into it by the law.
Nudge from the judge. I love it.
Yeah, nudge from the judge. You know, I could admit I was a drug addict back then, but I never could admit I was an alcoholic. So I always had that little lurking notion behind my head that I could drink again one day. And after 7 years and 11 months, I drank again. And everything they talk about, it'll get worse. Jails, institutions, hospitalizations. So the second time I came into recovery in June of 2004, I was forced into it by alcohol. I had admitted defeat. Wound up in Baton Rouge.
Not to interrupt, how long did from the relapse to back to treatment last? About
7 years.
7 years. Okay, so 7 years and some change sober, then 7 years second drinking career.
Yeah, after being sober for 7 years and going back out, I wanted nothing to do with AA. I wanted to be one of those guys that would go out on a Friday afternoon, drink a few, and go back home. But that never happened. So I was too embarrassed. I was too prideful. I was too proud to admit defeat until one morning I woke up and I cried out to God and I was like, God, please help me. And every day before that I would wake up and it was like, God, why did I wake up? You know, I was mad at him. I didn't want to be alive. I'm not suicidal, but I would have been fine if I would just not woken up that day. And I cried out to God, made a phone call to Dr. Tucker, and somehow wound up in a psych ward in New Orleans, DePaul's Hospital, and stayed there for 11 days. And they said, what are you willing to do? I'm like, whatever you tell me to do. And that's when I wound up in Baton Rouge in June of 2004. And that's my sobriety date from then.
I was in high school.
Yeah.
What was recovery like back then?
Recovery, well, man, it was a lot of old timers carrying big books. Here in Baton Rouge, I picked up my Desire chip at the Club 12.
That's still around.
Old guy named Mr. Earl. And it took me about 2 months to pick it up. But I remember a noon meeting. They would take us there from the treatment center every day. And I remember picking up that Desire chip, and I was like, okay, I'm in it to win it.
You know where he got sober?
Baton Rouge, you just said it.
But facility.
No, I didn't.
The OG facility of Baton Rouge. From the gutter, he says.
Baton Rouge.
The O'Brien House.
Whoa! I love O'Brien House. They just had a breakfast recently that I always go to.
One of my buddies spoke there.
Which one? Ethan?
Ethan.
Yeah.
Ethan and Chastity are two really good friends of mine.
Man, that dude got a
we do some
story.
traveling together.
We gotta get in touch. Man. Yeah, that's cool.
Great people. Great people. Yeah.
And he could beat your A. He like a 33-degree black belt. Jiu-jitsu.
He is.
He's a bad man, bro. He's a bad man.
All right, so you find your way to Baton Rouge, find recovery, and what were some of the next steps?
Well, some of the next steps were I was so beat down that I wound up washing dishes at a little place called Job's Cafe downtown,
Okay.
North Boulevard. And I was living O'Brien House, moved into an Oxford house, stayed there for a while, and I had went through the right steps. So I was going back to aftercare once a week on Monday nights, even though I was at O'Brien House. And I got to know some of the people there, and they had got wind that I had worked in the field back in the 90s. And how I got started in this business was one day they said, "Hey, we need a weekend tech at St. Chris." And I'm like, "No, I don't want to do this again." So they kind of let it go, and then they hit me again. And I said, "Well, I'll do every other weekend as a tech." And I'll never forget one day after teching for a few months, Dwayne and Preston had walked up to me, and Dwayne said, "Peter, what is your purpose?" And I'm like, "To help people with addiction issues." It just came out of my mouth, and I don't know. They said, "Well, we have a CIT position coming up. Would like for you to consider it." And I said, "Well, I need to think about it." I had a job. I had got back in the service industry. I was working at the old Argosy Casino, working the day shift at the Shucks on the Levee, making some good money, able to make amends. And if I would have taken that job, it was like $8 an hour. And I was like,
Pay cut.
"Ah."
Pay cut. I know
But-
somebody else who took a pay cut to come be a tech.
I did.
Yeah.
did.
And then all of a sudden, it was like we met, we had lunch one day, and we talked about money, and they gave me $10 an hour. And I was like, "Okay, I'll do this CIT thing." And that was back when LASAC was doing the classes once a month on Friday afternoons. So that's how it all started, man. It started in the parking lot on Lover's Lane and Government Street when St. Chris was behind the Right Step. Wow. And I'll never forget that. It was kind of like the day my perception changed, and I was like, I want to help people. And that's in the core of my being. I thought I was helping people working in the service industry.
Right.
Because when I got out of the field and moved to New Orleans, I went into the service industry. And I stayed sober for a while. But the more I worked in that industry, the less I went to meetings, the less I was connected with people in recovery, the less, I was going out. I wasn't drinking, I wasn't drugging, but my other behaviors, acting out sexually,
Yep.
gambling, relationship to relationship, just living vicariously through people, like going out on Friday nights and being the sober one, but, being able to pick up the people that weren't sober, so, and then eventually I drank. But I remember that discussion in that parking lot, and then we met for breakfast, and I just knew that I wanted to do this again. So I wound up working as a CIT. I worked under supervision. Back then, the training was different. Like now, people are coming out of CIT and they're getting put into a situation with groups. Back then, I sat in groups and co-facilitated for 18 months. Like I couldn't facilitate a group by myself until 18 months. So back then I was trained by a couple of social workers, Rudy Troyer, Jay Martinez, Preston Elder was a LAC, Marsha Bannister. So there was a lot of people that were instrumental in helping me develop my knack, and I had like different approaches to draw from, and apply theories the way I wanted to apply them. So I stayed there, man, and it was a wonderful experience because these guys taught me discipline. They taught me record keeping. They taught me ethics. They taught me to be patient, right, and learn from some of the best. And I'll be extremely grateful for that opportunity at St. Chris to work under supervision. And then I got licensed. I'm a registered addiction counselor, RAC, and I have been licensed, I want to say 16, 17 years. So I worked at St. Chris for a while. And Then I moved to Lafayette. Like I was telling you earlier, St. Christopher's wanted to make some changes. They were going in a different direction. So me and my clinical supervisor, he went to Lafayette and he started working at a place called the Acadiana Addiction Center. And I had went to work at Centacor for like 6 months. And I was like,
He'd have been in the trenches.
from St. Chris to Centacor, the way they were treating people, I was like, I cannot do this. So I called Preston and I was like, Preston, job still available? And he said, yeah. So that's when I went to Lafayette. June of 2011, wound up in Lafayette. And the cool thing about working at Victory, I still work with some of the people I worked with when I first moved to Lafayette. The medical team, the CEO, clinical director, now is the CEO, Carrie. Melanie Carville moved up to corporate responsibilities, but we all worked together at Acadiana Addiction Center. So when it was time to come over to Victory, it was like I knew the team and I believed in the team because the medical team is still in place. It shifted a little, but for the majority of the time I've been at Victory, which is 9 years. In August, I made 9 years. A lot of the team is the same. So I believe in the philosophy. I believe in the team. And I'm in the trenches. I love being in the trenches. You said, I grew up in the trenches. I love being in the trenches with working with wet drunks.
I say that I thrive in the trenches. Mike has seen me in the trenches my whole 6 years now.
That's where he loves.
That's where it's at.
And it's crazy because we've had the privilege of discussing and getting to know a lot. Well, not a lot, but you're our fourth member of the Victory team, and I said it last week, and it still continues to reign true. Like the consistency in which y'all have discussed the core family atmosphere of the staff has been a beautiful thing to see. Because it's not common. There's so much high turnover and so much burnout in this industry. And for there to be so many people who have dedicated their lives to impacting underserved population, and B, like for everyone to say the same thing about the camaraderie and the unit of the staff tells me that it's a great place to not only work, but it's a great place for those suffering to visit. Because that's I've talked to people about it all the time. Like, if there's chaos amongst the staff, there's chaos amongst the clients.
Yep.
Exactly.
They can feed off of it. They feel that.
Yep.
And so, kudos to all of y'all over there, because I knew of Victory, but I wasn't, up to everything. And so it's been so enlightening getting to sit down and talk with y'all.
And to know that y'all real people. We all thought y'all was just stuck up, bougie, rich. I'm being a devil's advocate right now. But to have the conversations and sit, y'all like real, genuine people that have been in the slums and been in the trenches.
Absolutely. Well, we're in recovery. A few of us are in long-term recovery, and we all have those stories, right? And we all have that desire and that passion. It goes back to that conversation in that parking lot, man. And it's like, what is your purpose? And for me, it's kind of like deep down inside. It's the purpose. And like our team is so diverse but so similar. And I believe the similarity is the passion we have for people, right? Bougie versus O'Brien House, whatever it is. I mean, the purpose is, one of the gifts that I have is the gift of the language of the heart, right?
I'm telling you now, I'm still in that.
You give me the resistant 18 to 27-year-old, or you give me the combat veteran, or you give me the 60-year-old guy that comes in that relapsed on crack. I have a way of, reaching that person. And that's something that man, it gives me like a little bit of a spiritual high.
Yes.
Like it's kind of like, whew,
Yes. Say that. How you said that again?
One of his greatest gifts is that he has the ability to speak the language of the heart.
Clip that, Ken. I gotta have that. I'm about to get that tattooed on me.
Language of the heart. And there's actually a book that Dr. Bob wrote called Language of the Heart, and look into it, man. And we have it to where people that work in the field that are non-addict or alcoholic, I believe they have a little bit missing. They have the clinical techniques, but we have that unspoken language.
So you agree? You agree with the unspoken? All right, we ain't gonna get in there.
Yeah, we ain't gonna get
we
in.
don't want to ruffle no feathers. We don't want to ruffle no feathers,
Yeah.
But
we'll get you.
you were talking about being in the trenches and that. Oh wait, I remember. So you were talking about that spiritual high, and me and Ronnie have talked about it. And Ronnie always says like there, and even with what we do here, like we both work in the recovery field, but like what we do here. We talk about it all the time. Like, there's no drug, there's no drink that can deliver that peace, that joy, that euphoria of being able to see the light pop on in somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and Ronnie go way back. Like
Two flats on a Cadillac.
yes, indeed.
Uh-huh.
And so, I had the pleasure of working with Ronnie when he was early in recovery. Just getting sober.
Yeah, early beginning of recovery.
He was one of the ones, and I've seen it happen on all different spectrums, but he was one of the ones who came in hungry. And you gave him some tools and you gave him some insight and to watch and to see where he's come from now and to see where he's at or where he came from and to where he's at now is a blessing that and a spiritual high that I'll never be able to describe, and it's happened countless times. And I was talking the other day about it, like people are always like, because it's a tough industry, because it's for the one or two that the light goes off or the light comes on, not the light goes off. You have some where the light goes off.
Light go off.
And but being able to focus and experience that joy that you talked about, like that's a powerful thing.
That's what kept me coming back.
It's when you get the resistant client and you could turn that resistance into rapport. Like, I feel like I've reached them, right? And it's when I leave the office, it's kind of like all the battles that we're faced with, and if we win one or two of those battles, it's kind of like, thank you, God. I call that like the grace spot, where I feel that little bit of high that I've been looking for without drugs.
Yeah.
But I tell you where I get that the most is when I was doing family sessions. I was doing like 3-day family sessions from noon to 5, 3 days in a week.
That's intense.
And look, you invited mama, papa, auntie, uncle, the whole town of Ada shows up. Eunice comes into the house, whatever it was. And to know that when you're doing family, when you're working with patients, you reach like a quarter of the pie. But when you're working with family, you reach 3/4 of the pie. So to see that and to see the families get healthy, even though the patient doesn't, was one of the, I did that program for about 5 years. And man, at first I didn't want to do it. I was afraid of it. And it was just some ignorance going on there. I had never did multi-family sessions. I always did like one-on-one family sessions. Absolutely. But reaching that pie, and even though the kid didn't get better, the family got better. And we had we still have it. It's called Family Aftercare Group. I think Miss Sherry, who came in last week, talked about that. And it's a free service we offer the community, because a lot of times the kids don't get it, or the husband doesn't get it, or the wife doesn't get it. But having that safe place, because a lot of exit interviews that we have for our patients is they'll say something about victory is they felt safe. Right, and I take pride in that, is where the patient comes in extremely scared. We have a staff from the receptionist to the janitor, Receptionist has been there over 10 years. So has Mr. Robert, the
doing something
maintenance
right
guy.
over there.
They got to be doing something
They're
right.
doing something right.
So even those guys are part of the team as well that create a safe environment, safe, clean environment. We're a small facility, you know, we're 32 beds, we're commercial insurance and private pay, and then we take some of the veterans. But if we could create a safe environment where we could facilitate change, and it's not us necessarily, because a lot of times people come in ready, and even though they're not ready, sometimes that transition happens because of the environment,
Yeah.
and they go from being resistant to being open.
You know, so I got a controversial question.
Uh-oh.
It could turn controversial, and so you can feel free to say I declined to answer. But 20 years of experience in the field, I got to know, like, what is your perception of the change throughout the years of the industry from, you know, because I tell people all the time, like, I went to treatment, and this was only, you know, the first time I went to treatment was 2013, so 12 years ago. You did something wrong. There was still some shame-based therapy in there, which I don't, I understand that it helps. It can reach some people, but it also turns a lot more people off. But as far as like the different therapeutic styles, the introduction of MET and medically assisted treatment, and being able to work under, because like you had a unique experience, which is very similar to mine. I was able to get my CIT and work under some really great people like Dr. Tommy Estes and Ryan Phillips and a lot of really great licensed clinicians who like sat me down and worked with me for a while before I started running groups and stuff like that. But there's been so much change over the years. So I just kind of, what's your perception on some of that, the positives and the negatives?
And I knew this would come up, and I actually kind of I hope this comes up.
Yes, indeed.
Because when I went to treatment in 1989
I was born in 1980.
They had treatment centers back then?
Huh?
They had treatment centers in
Well,
'89?
it was called a CC Bridge House in Shreveport, Louisiana, and it was in the middle of a cane field. The nearest neighbor was like 5 miles away. It was a brick house with 14 guys funded by the Catholic Associated Charities, Houma Thibodeau area. Apparently, my mom made some financial contributions for me to go there. But back then, man, it was confrontive. It was like, in your face. I needed that. Yeah. I needed my ego to be leveled, right? And there was this German guy, Winford, and he would take us for walks in the cane field, and he's like, "You're not being honest," and he'd throw dirt at you. And, it's kind of like he'd tear you down, and then he'd put you back together. Yeah. Tear you down, put you back together. But that was a 6-month period, right? That's appropriate in a long-term facility. Absolutely. But a short-term facility, some of that shame-based therapy, people walk out of treatment with their underwear hanging out the suitcase. It's kind of like their trauma is open.
Absolutely.
It was 12-step based, but it was also therapy, and it was hardcore, right? That saved my life. That set the foundation for me having a tough skin to face a lot of the destruction that I had caused in my addiction. I did a lot of damage, guys. I did a lot of hurt to a lot of people.
Same.
And I needed some tough skin, and I needed to be able to facilitate that shame and that guilt without using, because I'm a firm believer, you throw a rock in the calm water, there's a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
So if I throw a lot of chaos and confusion, there's a ripple effect that I'm going to experience some karmic fruit years down the line. And I have to be prepared for that, having to have some tough skin. So when I went to treatment the second time at the Right Step, it was a little confrontational, but it was done boxing gloves with some kid gloves.
Yeah.
There was a tough guy, and there was Miss Marsha, who was really soft. But what I see is that the trends are getting more about numbers rather than results.
Yep. We talk about
Numbers
this
rather than
all the
results.
time.
I love it.
All the time.
So, and for me personally, I have to not get caught up in the numbers. I have to get caught up in what's my primary purpose. What is my passion is to help that 22-year-old resistant kid that everybody else has given up on. My mom and papa don't want anything to do with them. The only one is the enabling mom, right?
Yeah.
So what I see is that it's gotten a little more towards trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that trauma needs to be dealt with, but it may need to be dealt with after someone is stabilized in their addiction.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because there's a lot of unskilled people talking about trauma, and then the patient wants to talk about the trauma and not the addiction. But what came first, the cart or the horse, right? For a lot of people, the addiction started before the trauma. I don't know about y'all, but a lot of my personal trauma was an active addiction.
Absolutely.
You know, car wrecks, jails.
Yep.
And even for the ones who's the trauma, you made a bunch of really good points, but even for the people who's the trauma, they experienced childhood trauma and it led to the addiction. The point you made about treatment centers being 30 days long now, that's not enough time to deal with trauma. Trauma needs to be done in an aftercare plan.
Individual therapy.
Absolutely. And so like, and I Ronnie will attest to this. I was, even as little as 6 years ago, I was still, keeping the confrontation therapy alive.
I was going, but I needed that, and that's why when you say I needed, I was been tired all the way to death almost,
and
so I came in there and got a rude awakening from this redhead right here, dude. I'm talking about.
I think you made like such a great point. Like, the importance of balance is like not malicious, like, because there's some people. Or not some, most of them get weeded out fast. But I've seen times where there's like malicious breakdown, like where they're kind of maliciously breaking down. But I think there's a balance in like you said, like breaking someone's ego, breaking someone's delusion, breaking someone down, that so they can be built up. One of my favorite poems is, or it's not even, it's from a slam poetry, and he talks about like when you get to this point in your life where you look around and your whole life is shattered and everything is fallen and all that is around is crumbs and pieces. At that point you have the ability to clear it up and build something new.
Mm-hmm.
And so many times we, not to get spiritual or whatever, but so many times when people come into treatment, they have these idols built of false gods that they're worshiping, and until they're broken down, and those false gods can be the drugs and alcohol, the ego, all these things that they're maybe not consciously, but they're pretending and portraying to be, and until those things are broke down, you can't build anything anew.
And what I mean by breaking down, I mean like defense mechanisms.
Absolutely.
Breaking down the denial, breaking down the blaming, the rationalization, the minimization, the aggression, right? And it's not for everybody, but there's a certain part of the population that welcomes that type of approach. Because the leveling of pride and ego, it says it in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous in chapter, there's a solution, right? We have to get to a place where we could build from. And for me personally, that's what it took. It took like somebody to be honest with me, tell me what my truth is or was, even though I didn't recognize it, right? My truth was I was a thief, I was dishonest, I was over the top. I was living a delusional lifestyle, right? I had this fantasy that I created that until somebody said, dude, you're living in a fantasy world, I got mad. But then eventually I was able to see my part in everything. And thank God somebody took the time to do that for me. But with the patients, I believe that they have to be ready for that.
Absolutely.
because each one of my patients are addressed differently, right? There's some that in a group setting, when we're doing some group processing, there's some people that get really uncomfortable. So it's about reading the room. It's about being able to manage 8 or 10 people and be mindful of each one's effect on what's being said or what's being processed in that group.
I had a mentor tell me one time, you got to read the room. Some people need a kick in the ass, and some people need a pat in the ass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some
He used to just
need a
be
hug.
kicking people.
Some need a hug, and some need
He didn't got soft now, but Mike used to just be kicking everything. Male, female, kids, anybody.
Talking about the old timers in the treatment world. I had a guy one time. He was an old school counselor, and he had since moved on from counseling and was doing some different stuff. But it was when I was in treatment, and we had there was some stuff going on, so they had like a community shutdown. And so the guy came in, and he was confronting everybody and talking to everybody, and some people were false ego and all of this stuff. And he was like, my favorite thing is people that come in and say they're willing to do everything or anything to get sober. He said, back in my day whenever I could run groups and stuff, when people would come in, I'd have a bottle of pills. I say, oh, you can do anything? Push this bottle of pills across the room with your nose. Oh shit!
I can't help but notice that my stomach stopping the mic from coming close to my mouth. But I gotta do better. Keep going. I'm sorry.
So in today's day and age, and now that you're have some experience under your belt, what do you feel has been like? And I know it's individualized and stuff, but what's your go-to technique or philosophy or?
I was trained by Ellis's Institute for Rational Emotive Behavioral Therapy.
Okay.
So that approach, along with motivational interviewing, but helping someone change the core belief system. When you take a look at REBT, it's about activating events, belief system, consequences, disputing, and evidence. And if I could help somebody change that core belief system from being unworthy to worthy, or being an addict to a man in recovery, if I could change that core belief system, because you work with people and they come in and, it's kind of like they have these personal statements that they're not aware of. Like, I'm a piece of shit, or, I don't belong, I'm a failure. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. I'm not athletic enough. And if we could get to that core belief system and help them to begin to change that belief system. I'll use mirror therapy as well. I'll put people in front of a mirror and ask them to tell me some qualities about themselves. And a lot of times they cannot look themselves in the eye. And what I do is I'll sit behind them and I'll give them a few words to use of what I see with my interaction with them, and help them to begin to develop a different belief system about themselves. So rational emotive behavioral therapy works for the combat veterans. I love to get in the trenches with them because their belief systems about their service doesn't serve them as a civilian.
Right.
Just like the drug addict who robbed, stole, killed somebody in a car wreck, whatever it is, helping them change that core belief system is when the light bulb comes on. It's amazing to see the transition from not being able to look at the man in the mirror to, at the end of treatment, they're looking in the man in the mirror and they're not cocky, they're confident.
Yeah.
They're not overconfident, but they're okay in their own skin for a moment in that mirror.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things that hopefully people in recovery could experience, is being comfortable in your own skin no matter where you're at. So that with some motivational interviewing, we use a lot of CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, We do use some EMDR. Charlie is certified in that. So is Rachel. I know I want to say
Shout out Charlie. That's my girl, man.
Yeah, she said she
Charlie.
knew you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Charlie's good
man.
people.
That's great people, man.
Yeah, she's been with us for a few years. She's a great therapist. She's a good educator.
She's a
is
good
what-
person.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot of times if that translates into being a great therapist, but when you hear somebody be like they're a great therapist, but like, oh, it makes sense.
She's authentic.
Yeah,
and that's
super.
what it is. That's what makes part of a good team is having a team of
You remember
people
Charlie,
that kind of
Yeah, I know Charlie.
chill together. So for me, and I like educating. I like doing a lot of education, and I'll use a lot of the old school educations, biosocial aspects of the disease, defense mechanisms, the emotional tank. Just talking about how addiction evolves over a period of time. It's progressive, it's chronic, it's fatal, but also getting people to recognize that the experimental phase of addiction starts like in adolescence. And that's what we remember. We remember the good times. We don't remember DWI, separation, divorce, bankruptcy, couch surfing. Right. When we get in a difficult spot, we remember that first time I got high and it took all that yuck on the inside. Of it. Like it made me feel like one with the world. So educating people on you always going to want to go back to that, but it never happens.
Yep.
And the concept of cross addiction, a lot of people don't get it. It's not about one chemical. It's about how the body reacts to it. It doesn't matter if it's marijuana, cocaine, heroin, prescription medication, the phenomenon of craving that happens in 1 out of 10 people. And that never goes away because, like I said, when I was sober the first time and I didn't work a program of recovery, my phenomenon of craving for other things came in that took me back to the drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
And you talked about education, like that was my, forte. I loved good education, and I'd always talk about the concept of not necessarily the phenomenon of craving or the mental obsession to use a substance, but sometimes if we're not working on those, defense mechanisms or character defects that are associated with addiction, we have this mental obsession or this phenomenon of craving to do those, right? So like I always talked about, one of my big things that helped me when I was getting sober was identifying a relapse pattern. And so for me, it was always that little white lie would come in, and I'd tell that little white lie and it would feel good. And so then I was like, okay, I could tell another lie.
Yeah.
I could tell another lie. And then that grandiosity started kicking in, and it was able for me to start thinking more highly of myself. And as those things started building up, I'm a big believer in, the therapeutic aspect combined with the spiritual aspect. But as those things, and I wasn't doing the necessary things to keep those at bay, they would block me off from what, the book talks about, the sunlight of the spirit, and the insanity to drink would return. That insanity to drink or use would return because of all of the footwork that I put in to lead to that. And so that, that was always a big thing for me.
And the thing about it is people don't want to talk about, hey, I'm watching porn, hey, I'm gambling, hey, I'm,
What's wrong with porn?
I'm pounding.
I'm asking for a friend.
I'm pounding like a half a gallon of ice cream in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
right? Or I'm stealing. I stole from Walmart. I stole that little bubble gum, or And what happens is people don't want to say that they're practicing these behaviors. So what is it? It's pride and ego, right? That little lie that snowballs into false pride. I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to go tell you I'm struggling. I'm sober 21 years, and I don't want you to think anything ill about me, And I think that happens more in early sobriety than it does in late sobriety, because late sobriety, I've learned how to tell on myself.
I can, with personal experience, I can attest, though, that, it can happen in late sobriety. I allowed, especially that false pride and ego, when you start perceiving yourself to one of my biggest issues a while back, about a year ago. I was going through some mental health stuff, was that I had this false perception that it wasn't okay for me not to be okay. And I think that importance of like learning that it's okay to tell on yourself, that it's okay to talk to people, and that people don't expect you to be perfect.
Yeah, and that is the humanism of being the human component of being in recovery. Right, we're human. We're not saints. I mean, you know, journeys of recovery are individualized, but they're so similar.
Absolutely.
Right, and what's the ultimate goal? I want to be okay living in my own skin.
Yeah.
Without having to use a substance. I want to experience those moments of helping people where I almost have like this endorphin rush that's kind of like, man, when I was doing those family sessions, I had to walk from one building to the other. It was 2 buildings. And I remember doing some of those family sessions and the walk to go get the patient. Sometimes I felt like I was walking above ground. And that was like the euphoric high
Absolutely.
that I had been searching all my life, that and knowing that I'm doing God's work. You know, I'm able to help people in a way that I never imagined that I'd be able to help people. So that whole thing about not keeping secrets and telling on myself, I got a core group of guys that know everything about me, right? And I could go and I could say I'm struggling here. Or I could go and, I lost a patient. I need somebody to talk to. The overdoses. I almost got out of the field with the fentanyl epidemic, man. They were dropping 2, 3 a week.
Yeah.
It was kind of like everything shut down, and it's kind of like, why am I doing this? And I remember saying, my purpose is to help people, right? I have a nephew that overdosed and died in the opioid epidemic. And I couldn't help him, and it helped a lot of people. And I remember one day just saying, I don't know if I could do this anymore. And I'm praying, and I'm in meditation. And I just, something in the back of my head said, man, your purpose is to help people. And I quit looking at the people that we were losing, and I started looking at the people we were saving, right? We had the doors open, people that were coming in. Yeah, they were leaving and they were dying, but they had another week of life. And they had a week of life at Victory where they felt safe, or, they were trusting in us enough to come back to us. But I almost gave up around the pandemic, man. It was bad, and I knew a lot of people here, and I heard the stories about here, and it was like, ooh.
Yeah. That was a tough spot in recovery world, industry, like the outside, like everywhere. Just, I mean, you had newly sober people drawing unemployment that were making more money than they. It was wild.
Well, the bars and the restaurants shut down, and liquor sales increased.
Yeah.
Domestic violence increased. And during that period of time, I learned a valuable lesson about myself. My mother was dying at the time, and I got a lot of opportunity to go spend some time with her, right? We talk about amends, and people say, I've done my amends. And I'm like, let's talk in 20 years. But my final amends with my mom during that period of time was so freaking cool, because it was the end of her life. I was able to be of service. I was able to help out the family in ways that I would never have imagined. But the pandemic had a lot of blessings, as well as it had, for me personally, my spirituality took off. I did a lot of meditating. I don't isolate, I meditate. They called it isolation, hunker down. I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of praying. I asked for a lot of help, and I was able to be of service. So for me, going back to my purpose is helping people. What I look at too is recovery is always about, it's always about maintaining. I'm in a maintenance phase of my recovery, and I believe I will always be in a maintenance phase of my recovery. But when life throws you an obstacle, I may have to go back to like action and preparation, right? I may have to go back and dig into trenches. My philosophy is always keep it simple, go back to the basics. There's a culture of let me do step 1 and then step 4, and I'm always stay on step 1, 2, 3. You know, keep it real simple, keep it basic, build a foundation. And those people seem to be the ones that are successful. You know, at Victory, we do a lot of work with alumni services. And when I first started working there, I was the alumni coordinator, but I was also working in the intensive outpatient program. And our intensive outpatient program is 36 sessions, which is 3 months after residential treatment. And in that 3-month period, getting to see people transition into the recovery community and that success rate, because that success rate is what keeps me focused on not who we losing, but who we saving.
Yeah.
So, you know, as we kind of get to the end, you know, a question that really just keeps coming to the forefront of my mind is, you know, with 20 years of experience, with ups and downs in the industry, with ups and downs personally, I can tell just from talking to you that you're still hungry to do this. And in an industry where burnout is so prevalent, what is some of the keys that you have found to keep you hungry?
Self-care. A lot of self-care. I travel. I do a lot of meditation. And I've been in and out of therapy myself.
Absolutely.
Right? So what keeps me motivated is I go back to that conversation in that parking lot behind St. Chris. What is your purpose? And it is my purpose, but what keeps me motivated is not only being able to help the patients, but I've worked with a lot of young therapists along the way and getting them to take a look at, yeah, you have this education, you're coming out of a master's level program. I have what you have, what I don't have, and I have what you don't have, which is the practical application.
Absolutely.
So being able to guide people into a healthier direction, help them learn about ethics, help them learn about being dependable, being trustworthy, and being committed. Because along the way, I've met some people that wanted to do this, but it's got to be in your soul.
Yeah.
It's got to be in your soul.
Any you got anything?
No, but Victor got some great people.
Absolutely. So,
Just, you know, meeting Julie and is it Julie? Yeah, Julie and Chris and Charlie and you. I'm a Victory fan.
you didn't get to meet Sherry
I know.
because you canceled on us
That's her name.
because you're a slacker.
I gotta make it
Miss
up.
Sherry, you'd
I gotta
love
make
Miss
it up
Sherry.
soon.
Everybody loves her.
I'm gonna have to come bring her some.
She's kind of like the
Bucatinis.
mama of the unit. I'm the dad. Charlie's like the sister. Julie's the disciplinarian. She's the DON.
Yep.
She's
And
Julie's
they protective
amazing.
over their people too. If you go to Victory, you ain't getting nowhere past the chairs in the front lobby. and the lady at the reception, she the security guard too.
Miss Marvel.
You ain't getting past
Miss
none
Marvel.
of that. It's over with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you know, I appreciate you coming down here and sharing, you know, a little bit of yourself, a little bit
it
of
is that time.
It is that time. It's your least favorite time, buddy. I'm sorry. Ronnie doesn't like when we have to wrap up.
Yeah,
That's why he has 6 kids.
Oh.
that was good. hey, that was a good one. That was good.
You guys are awesome.
That was good.
Yeah,
I gotta
awesome.
give you props.
How long y'all been doing this together?
So we formed. So Bill by
That
me and Ronnie have
good.
known. I was the educator and administrator at the facility Ronnie got sober at, and I actually offered him his first job in the industry, and so we had this just connection. About 4 years ago, I had the vision of starting Built by the Red Stick, and it was just me, and I was just interviewing people, and Ronnie came on 3 episodes. We did 8 episodes, and then life kind of took off, and we didn't, get to really, we didn't follow through. And then about a year and some change ago, I called Ronnie, and I was like, dude, I want to relaunch Built by the Red Stick, but I want you to be my co-host.
Yep.
And so this is episode
65,
Nice.
I think it's like 66.
66. Okay.
So, but episode 60 was our year mark. It was when we made it, when we had been doing it a year, dropping episodes every Friday consistently for a year.
Yep.
And so It's been
So yeah, what you see, this the off camera stuff. So on camera a year, but doing this 6 years.
yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
That is great, man. You guys got some energy going on.
Oh yeah, that's my guy. That's my
Kind of
guy.
how you talked about like your core group of guys that know everything like that. Ronnie is one of mine, and I
He
think
one
I
of
could
his.
say, and so no matter what's going on in life, we call each other, we talk to each other, and it's such an important aspect is to have your tribe, to have your circle. You know, you can't do this thing called life alone.
Yep.
And that's part of the passion. That's part of the success, right? Because I surround myself with people that get it.
Yeah.
And the it is hey, I want to be of service to people, but I also want to be healthier, right? I want to be a better version of me tomorrow than I am today. And we try and teach that at Victory to the patients is recovery is a foundation. If you ever want to experience something really cool, Wraith, who is our current alumni coordinator, does these events. And he'll get people to come together, and there's usually 60, 70, 80 people. We invite the recovery community. And Victory, I've been in Lafayette for 14 years, and to see the amount of patients that are sober 10, 11, 12, 13, 5, 6, 7 years is part of the motivation, right? I go to the coffee shop, there's people with big books. I go to the mall, there's somebody, hey, Peter, you go to a music festival, and there's people in recovery all over the place. We're strong, we're loud, we're not embarrassed. People with big books at the coffee shop.
And Lafayette's got a strong recovery.
Super strong. Super strong.
Like, it's powerful in Lafayette.
When y'all have y'all next event, let us know. We'll come step in and sit down and listen.
Cool deal. And
We'll ride together out
Absolutely.
there.
maybe when we need some speakers for an alumni event.
We do it all the time. We do it all the time.
We love doing that. But just being there around, like we even got to come to speak. Just being there and being amongst people like us, like I love that.
You know, we ask everybody who sits down, their why, their what's their drive, and you made it clear from the beginning is you had this internal just hunger to be of maximum service and help people that suffer. And me and Ronnie talk about it all the time, like that's our why is Ron, and I always give him his flowers because Ronnie has been tremendous in really, and that's why he loves people who are in the trenches because I've never seen someone as dedicated as like Ron. The man's phone never stops ringing, and he's never at home. He's got kids, and he's a great family man and everything. I'll give it to him, but he has found balance in his family and the drive to be in the community and really affect positive change, and that's what we want to do is just if this platform helps one person and helps inspire one person, then I call it worth it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
And the why could be why not.
Powerful.
The why is why not do it.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that start out in this field and don't want to do it. And there's too many good therapists that move up into administrative roles, and the trenches, we need them in the trenches.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And stay in the trenches, man. It's a cool
he ain't
place
going
to be.
Look, he ain't going
I love the trenches, man.
Ronnie, unfortunately though,
Yeah, we got it.
we have got to our.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for coming.
Thank y'all for having me.
Oh man, dude, the pleasure's all ours, and I'm so grateful I got a chance to be a part of this and meet a fellow trenchman. It takes a special person to be there, man. Absolutely. So we're super grateful for everything.
He got that from down the bayou.
I'm just playing, bro. We love the bayou, man. We love our people.
That's in my
down there.
blood, man.
Yeah, we love the people.
I'm one of them Cajuns. They used to call us coonasses down there.
Yeah, hey,
I'm proud to
I'm
be
not
a
allowed to say
coonass.
that word. I don't think. Yeah, you can. Can I? I don't. But again, if you or someone is struggling, Victory Recovery Center may be the spot for you. Absolutely. How can they find y'all?
We have a website, Victory Addiction Recovery Center. You could go to myvictory.com. Also, we're located in Lafayette, Louisiana, in the heart of Lafayette, on Liberty Avenue. You can get some Liberty down in Victory.
Liberty Avenue.
And look, all their information will be tagged in the
description. That's right. And at the beginning of this video as well. And this wraps up our Meet Your Sponsor series.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Each and every person that has been with us during this from the beginning of the Meet Your Sponsor series. We want to give a special shout out to the people that's been with us since the beginning of the relaunch of Built by the Red Stick. We love y'all. We see y'all. Continue to like, continue to subscribe, continue to share, continue to comment, continue to tell your friends, parents, uncles, parents about it as well. We love all y'all. And if you or somebody you know is struggling, we are always here for y'all. We are readily available to help. We are in the trenches. We want to be there with you. You can reach me at Ronnie LeDuff on Facebook. You can reach him at Michael Axelrod Oakley on Facebook. You can message the Built by the Red Stick Facebook page. You can even get up to us on email, builtbytheredstick@gmail.com. You can even visit us and leave a message on the website, builtbytheredstick.com.
Absolutely.
You can't miss us. You can't
TikTok,
miss us. If
we're
you
there.
Yes, if you don't receive the help, it's because you didn't want it, not because we wasn't here to help you. We love y'all. Y'all our babies. Until then, we'll be back at the same time, at the same place, with the same producer. Built by the Red Stick. Built by adversity. Led by courage.
Yes, they have. You believe in God? Yes, I do. But you here to tell your testimony. God believe in you. Yes, sir. I'ma live my truth to the dirt. I'ma live my truth till it hurt. I'm elevating, and it's all because I'm putting me first.